Have you ever felt like life is this careening runaway train that's just gonna crash and you're just sitting there watching it and you're like, I guess this is the end? If this is what life feels a little bit like to you, then I want to encourage you and tell you, you're not alone. I think this is a really common thing that modern life has just become so unmanageable. And today we're going to dig into why. And we're going to try to grab some of that control back. So the number one reason that life feels so unmanageable for moms particularly, obviously I'm like all about the mom life, is there's so many opportunities for kids, and it feels like if we don't let our kids take every one, that they're missing out, which means that we feel guilty, or we feel, even if we decide like, okay, philosophically I'm against a busy life, which I am, you still had that little bit of guilt, like, but like, could they be the next professional athlete? Could it happen? And I want to say that it never happens, but my cousin literally just married a professional basketball player, so it happens. I don't know. Do we have basketball players? This is the thing, I'm already down the trail. My kids are tall. You see where I'm going with this. There's so many opportunities from such a small age. Like babies can be in music class and gymnastics class. Everything. And so because life has so much, we can feel like we have to do it all. And I just want to say, of course, well, I don't need to say, we ain't gotta do it all. Your kids don't even know what all this stuff is anyway. So if they don't do it, they don't even care. It isn't until they get older that they start asking to do these things. This is just something to keep in mind when we realize there's all these things and we're not doing them. There's this guilt, and it's the guilt that causes us to feel like icky and unmanageable. Okay, a bonus, I added this in. This isn't one of the numbers. I want to say one big reason our life feels unmanageable is because of this. It just seems like they take so much of our time. We get so much put on us, you know, calls and the texts and the social media and the info. And that really, I think, is a large part of it. But that was just a bonus. The second reason modern life feels really unmanageable for moms is because our culture is so consumeristic. I know this is like a cliche thing to say, but having lived on 3 continents, North America, Europe, Australasia. What is the continent of Australia called? Because it also includes like New Zealand, whatever, lived over there. Having lived in these places, I see like America, we buy a lot of stuff and there's a lot of stuff that's really inexpensive here. And we really have this mindset that a problem is gonna be fixed when we buy something. It's like, you know, the house is a mess, you know what's really gonna fix it? 3M hangers that stick on the wall. They don't even make a hole. They don't even make a hole. So we just feel like things are gonna fix our problem. So it's like, oh, you know, somebody linked that thing, I'm gonna buy that thing. It's gonna come in the mail in 2 days. What if I live in a big city? It's gonna solve my problems. This stuff doesn't solve our problems. It gives us more to dust, throw away. Then we just got a lot of junk and we gotta go declutter, whatever, you get it. And I'm not saying I know what to do about this, but as I've started to realize, I jump to thinking I can buy something to fix a problem. It can work if the problem is the kid has no shoes, so you buy some shoes. Okay, this is obvious. But when we start thinking about a lot of our different other things that really they just require thinking time. They require sitting down. And on this note, while we're talking about thinking, I have an entire free printable that I call the Bedtime Brain Release, but you could do it any time of day. But it essentially is getting a lot of this stuff out that's going on in our minds. And so you can get that at amotherfarfromhome.com/brain release. Back to saying, notice when you start to feel like life will be fixed if I buy something, and pivot a little bit, because the reason this matters is because if you always think there's more that you need to buy, life feels never ending. It feels like you're not getting there because it's like there's something I need in order to get where I'm going, as opposed to we have all we need. How can we make this work? The third reason modern life feels so overwhelming is because our brains are so full and overflowing of so much. Like I remember growing up, you know, whatever, I'm old, but I remember growing up and I only knew what my family was doing, what my close friends were doing, what people at church were doing. I didn't know about trends. I remember going to like Bible camp and being like, oh man, they got these shorts, they're Umbro shorts, they're, you know what I'm saying? I didn't see everybody, I saw somebody do it and then I liked it. Now it's like we are just, we know everything. The info doesn't just come in our brain and go out. The info comes in and it goes into this part of our brain that says, you gotta do that. You really gotta do that. You gotta do that for your kids. It's gonna be bad if you don't do that. Na, 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 boo, boo. And then we're all nuts and life feels unmanageable because now we've had 79 things enter in the last 25 minutes when we escaped left by scrolling. And now those things all feel like there's things that should be done. It just feels like a careening train. The fourth reason modern life feels unmanageable is that it almost seems like the way we're supposed to parent now, or even the way things are set up, requires a lot of micromanaging of our kids. I know, I'm not saying everything that's old was the best or whatever, but we have never had micromanaging like we have now. It's just the level to which you have to micromanage is insane. And I even find it in things like the kids' homework. Sometimes it's assigned in a way the kid can't actually do it without you doing quite a few things. So there's a lot of micromanaging now. And it isn't even that we want to. We don't even want to. We feel like if we don't, we're bad. We have a propensity to want to rescue our kids so they don't live with frustration and have to be sad, because if they're sad or frustrated, it's our fault. Got a whole video on this. We want to rescue them from all their bad feelings so they're happy, because if they're happy, we're doing a great job. If they're not happy, we somehow screwed up. So it's all too much. It's all jumbled up, and so we rescue, and so we just try to micromanage so much, but it's actually in those moments where we don't micromanage, where we support and validate. It's a tough situation. What do you think you might do? Or, oh man, that hurts so bad. It's so painful when somebody's not nice to us. And then we just, that's it. Do you know what I mean? Or how can I help you? How can I support you in this? A lot of times, and I've seen this with my kids, you know, they'll tell me a situation and then I'm like leaping into, gotta do something. And I'm like, this really must hurt so bad for you. Like, this is just awful, you know? Tell me how you're feeling. So much they'll be like, actually, I was thinking about that time we were on vacation. Or, you know, they actually move past it much quicker than we think. So we have to release from this feeling of micromanagement. It prevents them from growing and it makes life unmanageable. The number 5 reason life is so unmanageable, we're trying to create so many rules and routines and habits that don't align with our boundaries and our limits. Of course, y'all are so sick of me talking about it already, but you better buckle in. It ain't even released yet. In my book, If Mama Ain't Happy, I go into our boundaries and our limits. But the idea is that we actually need to know what we need, what we like and dislike, what sort of parameters we need to be okay. And the same for our kids. We need to know those. Those are what we need to build rules, routines, day-to-day habits around, not just like random ones. So that's why whenever I create a printable or a cheat sheet, it's like, here's some ideas. Take it, make it yours. You got to personalize it, because say you're wanting to get a business off the ground and you're like, I'm going to stay up late, I'm going to get up early, and I'm going to work. It's going to be fine. I'm going to do this. I'm going to only sleep 5 hours for like 3 or 4 months. It's going to be fine. But your body's like, no, it ain't going to be fine, because you need more sleep than that. So you can't just tell yourself what you're gonna do and decide to be okay. I get the general concept, mind over matter, but you have to respect your body and your needs, and you have to respect your children's, and you don't just need to like arbitrarily make a bunch of random rules that you think like sound good, or like, you know, that like so-and-so new parenting thingy that's going viral on TikTok or Instagram or whatever, like I'm totally gonna adapt that into my overall parenting strategy. And now you've added guilt on, and then that's not even really what you think. You can't even really do it well, so now you have a bunch of heaping guilt. We need to think about our own personalities, our own boundaries from that place, and of course those in our family. And from that place we need to build out our family life. The 6th reason that life is so unmanageable is that we keep trying to make life bigger instead of trying to make life smaller. I know it's like go big or go home. If it doesn't make you scared, it's not a good goal or whatever. If that's really what you're going for, you ain't gonna like this channel, because while I'm not saying we can't have goals that are bigger, that require effort, of course I'm for working hard. There's just something to be said about having so much striving now for more, bigger, better. And it's not like we're homeless and we want a house. It's like, we got a 2,000 square foot house, we want a 3,000. We got a 3,000, but like it ain't on the water yet. You know, it's just on and more and more and more. And it is nearly impossible to be satisfied when we're always aiming up. So I'm not saying we need to aim low or not seek excellence. I know you hear me out when I'm talking about this, but what we need to be more focusing on is day-to-day moments with our kids, the little traditions, the small things like the bedtime routines, you know, just talking with each other, taking a walk as a family, playing a board game. Just the simple things in life are the things that matter. And when you're old and on your deathbed, and I mean, this is the case if you read the books or hear things from people who kind of, you know, get really old and look back, it is the moments with those that we love that matter. And so when we keep trying to make life bigger, richer, more, we're starving out the little moments that are going to be the things that we value the most later. This is why I feel like, of course this channel's only my opinion, so I'm not saying I'm right, although of course I think I'm right. This is why life has just become so unmanageable. We've got to take it back. We've got to take back our headspace. We've got to take back the control over our lives and not sort of give it out to all these random strangers and then feel inadequate about our lives. We have got to somehow, when we start to live within our boundaries and limits, we're slowing down this train, and before we know it, it is not just careening out of control. We're just going at a steady clip. This is the goal. So my next video that I want you to watch is mindsets, parenting mindsets that'll take you from feeling stressed to peace. Sometimes it's just the switch in our mind and we start feeling better. Check that one out next.